Alright, you're welcome to Module 2 of Cybersecurity Essential. Module 2, Cyber Threats and Vulnerabilities. In this module, we'll be discussing types of cyber threats, malware, phishing, social engineering, and we'll be identifying vulnerabilities in systems and software, and we'll understand exploit kits and zero-day attacks. We'll also go into threats and attacks, and we'll discuss case studies of notable cyber attacks. So there are different forms of cyber attack. There are different types of cyber attack. Okay, cyber attack comes in different forms. It's actually stealing. Okay, but it's like physical stealing, physical sabotage, and disruption. This sabotage is stealing. They come in different forms. Okay, now the first form we have is malware. Malwares are malicious software designed to infiltrate or damage a computer system without the owner's consent. Now, examples of malware are viruses, worms, Trojan horse, and ransomware. Now, the next form we have is phishing. 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 What comes to your mind? Using net or baits, isn't it? Now, in this instance, it's using baits. Now, what are the baits? You can imagine, let's say, for example, an attacker can design a site that looks like an e-commerce website. We know the popular e-commerce that we have around. I don't want to mention any name of any e-commerce, but an e-commerce website. You can imagine what will happen if an attacker clone their site. Okay, then you probably browse through their site, you see items you want to purchase, and you add them to your cart, initiate payment, input your credit card information, and unfortunately, the information you are imputing, you are actually on the attacker's site, not on the legitimate website. And the variations on this attacker website and the legitimate website is just small and insignificant difference. Okay, let's say, for example, if a website is Godu, okay, GODU.com, that is the e-commerce website, for example. Now, the attacker may come forward with a website, a domain name, okay, that looks similar to the legitimate domain name, G0DU. Look at it on your screen. GODU, G0DU. There's no difference. But actually, to the computer system, there is different. So the domain names are different. But looking at it with your physical eye, they are not different. So the attacker can use these means to phish your information. Okay, that is what phishing is all about. You can pick your password, you can pick your credit card information, and by disguising as the legitimate company. Now, another form of attack is social engineering. Social engineering involves physical manipulation of individuals to divulge confidential information or perform action that may compromise security. Okay, now why are we learning all this? We are learning all this. Remember, cybersecurity are measures, policies put in place to ensure that our data are not compromised, our data are secure. Now, it involves the policies, the measures involve. The measures involve putting policies in place and also using tools that ensure that attackers cannot come in. Your system will not be compromised. Okay. Now, in social engineering, I think what will guide us here is policy. Okay, because it has to do with physical. Remember the definition is a physical or psychological manipulation of an individual, okay, to divulge confidential information. So if these policies are in place to fast track any manipulation that may come forward from the attacker, you see that we are already secure. So it's more of both the policies and tools that are involved. And those tools may be hardware, they may be software. Now, the next one is what we call denial of service attack. Denial of service, DOS, or distributed denial of service, DDoS. This is overloading a system or network with an excessive traffic, rendering it unavailable for legitimate users. Now, when you overload a network, overload a system, okay, the system, the processor, okay, will be overworked. The system will start having errors, okay, because it's handling more tasks than necessary. Now, what is going to happen? The legitimate user may start having difficulties accessing the system. Remember in module 1, what are the core components of a cybersecurity? Core component of cybersecurity is the CIA triad. CIA triad, C stands for confidentiality, I stand for integrity, and A stands for availability. Now, this denial of service attack is going against the availability. Okay, it's disrupting the availability of the data, availability of the system. Okay, so it will not be available when it is needed because it is being overloaded with traffic that is more than what it can handle. Now, the next one we have is man in the middle of attack. Man in the middle of attack, this is interception of communication between two parties, allowing the attacker to eavesdrop or manipulate the data transmitted. Okay, as the name sounds, man in the middle of attack. Okay, this is truncating or is manipulating the data that are being transmitted. Okay, now what will help us to prevent all this? We need tools, cybersecurity tools that will help us to prevent this man in the middle of attack. As we proceed in the subsequent module, we are going to discuss the tools that are necessary to prevent all this attack. Now, the next one we have is insider threat. Insider threat, this is security risks originating from within an organization, such as employees or contractors with access to sensitive information. I always tell people, if you maybe probably like in the bank or some organizations, health care organization that have a lot of sensitive data, okay, it is not just anybody that you just wake up and fire, okay, you do it in stages, okay. As soon as anyone is leaving the organization, you ensure that all the information and all the assets are retrieved, okay, and you also ensure that the people that are handling the organization data are people that have integrity to avoid this insider threat. Now, remember, it also boils down to, from our definition, policies and measures. So it also boils down to those measures, those policies put in place to ensure that those that should have access to sensitive information should have access to it and they will not divulge them at any time. Now, the next one we have is advanced persistent threats. Advanced persistent threat is the targeted, sophisticated cyber attacks typically aimed at maintaining unauthorized access to sensitive information over an extended period. Okay? Now, how can we identify vulnerabilities? Identify vulnerabilities. The first thing is software flaws. Errors or weakness in software code can be exploited by attackers to gain unauthorized access or disrupt system operation. So we should be sensitive of software flaws, and we should always update the patches of our software. Update our software regularly. If there is any new patch in our software we are using, we should update it. because some of the updates, most of those new updates help in fixing some bugs. Now, the next one is misconfiguration. Improperly configured settings in software system or network could expose them to security risk. So our network, our system, our software should be configured properly. Outdated software. Failure to update software with patches or security fixes, leaving system vulnerable to known exploits. Okay, when there is any new patch or any new update on our software system we are using, we should ensure that we update regularly. Now, the next one is weak authentication. Use of easily guessable or stolen credentials, weak password, or lack of multi-factor authentication. Now, some people have the habit of using maybe their name, their department, their community, where they come from, and anything that associates with them as a password. That is a very wrong idea. It's a very wrong approach. Okay, don't use a password that someone can easily guess. Using your phone number as a password is a no-no. It's a no-no because you are at the verge of being attacked, and that attack will likely be successful. Now, the next one is unencrypted data. Storing or transmitting sensitive information without encryption, making it susceptible to interception and theft. Okay, all our data have to be encrypted. Okay, if you are a database administrator, web designer, a software developer for the organization, ensure that all the passwords are hashed. Okay, if the passwords are not hashed, if the database is compromised, oh my God, everything is gone, because the attacker is definitely going to see all the password in the organization on the plain text. It is better it's unhashed. Okay, it should be hashed password. Now, let us look at understanding exploit kits and zero-day attack. Now, exploit kit. What is exploit kit? Exploit kit are tools used by attackers to automate the exploitation of vulnerabilities in software or system. They often contain pre-written code to target known vulnerability and deploy malware. Now, what about zero-day attack? Zero-day attack are cyber attacks that target vulnerabilities in software or systems that are unknown to the vendor or developer. Since no patch or fix is available, zero-day exploits can be particularly dangerous and challenging to defend against. Okay, now let us understand deeply what the exploit kit is. An exploit kit is a malicious tool designed by criminals to automate the process of finding and exploiting vulnerabilities in software applications. These kits are typically used to infect computers with malware such as ransomware, banking trojans, or key loggers, or you can still call it keystroke loggers. There are some detailed explanation of how exploit kits work. I'm going to give you those explanations. Now, it starts with vulnerability identification. Exploit kits start by scanning the target system for known vulnerability in commonly used software such as web browsers, plugins, and operating system. Okay, they will scan your system, okay, to discover the areas that are vulnerable, and those areas that are vulnerable, they will attack on those areas that are vulnerable. Okay, and the second approach is delivery mechanism. Once a vulnerability is identified, the exploit kit delivers the malicious payload to the target system. This can be accomplished through various means, including compromised websites, phishing emails, or even through direct exploitation of network service. Now, the next one is exploit execution. Now, after the whole process, after the vulnerability identification, delivery mechanism, the next one is for them to execute. Okay, the exploit kit uses exploit code specifically crafted to take advantage of the identified vulnerability. This code is often written in scripting language such as JavaScript or Python. and it is designed to trigger the vulnerability and gain unauthorized access to the target system. Now, what is payload delivery? After successful exploiting the vulnerability, the exploit kit delivers the actual malware payload to compromise the system. This payload could be anything from a simple downloader that fetches additional malware components from a remote server to a fully functional backdoor that provides the attacker with complete control of the system. Now, the next one is infection and persistence. Once a malware payload is executed on the target system, it may perform various malicious activities, such as stealing sensitive information, encrypting files or ransom, or turning the infected system into part of a botnet. The malware often attempts to establish persistence on the system to ensure it can survive reboot and remain active for as long as possible. Now, the next is command and control. Many exploit kits are designed to communicate with a command and control server operated by the attackers. This allows the malware to receive instructions, infiltrate stolen data, or download additional payload. Now, the last one is evasion techniques. Now, to evade this detection by security solution, exploits often employ various techniques, to ensure that security tools that you are using do not detect them. They deploy various techniques. These techniques include obfuscating the exploit code to make it harder to analyze, employing encryption to conceal communication with the C and C server, or leveraging zero-day exploits. Remember what zero-day is, though we'll discuss it in detail. So, exploit kit is a sophisticated tool that are used by attackers to infiltrate systems. Now, what about zero-day attack? Zero-day attack is when an attacker is trying to identify the areas in your operating system, the areas in the software, the areas in the tools you are using that are vulnerable. And not just that they are vulnerable, but you are not aware that they are vulnerable. You, the end user, is not aware that they are vulnerable. The developer is not aware of those vulnerable areas. And if the developer is aware of the vulnerable area, they could have provided patches to fix them. Now, the vulnerable area that you are not aware, the attackers will come through those areas. That is what we call zero-day attack. Now, this is how a zero-day attack is carried out. 1. Discovering vulnerability. The attacker discovers a security flaw in the software, operating system, or any other digital system. This vulnerability could be the code itself in the configuration or in the interaction between different components. Now, after discovering it, they will exploit. Before the vulnerability becomes publicly known, the attacker will exploit to gain unauthorized access and execute malicious code to steal data or disrupt the services. Now, the very big challenge effect of this zero-day attack, because you are kind of defenseless, because you are not even aware of it. Limited defense, because you've not really put any mechanism or any procedure or policies, measures in place to checkmate those vulnerabilities, because even the vulnerability themselves, you are not aware of them. So zero-day attacks are particularly dangerous because they can occur silently and without warning, potentially causing widespread damage before security teams can respond. So to defend zero-day attack, organizations employ various strategies such as network segmentation, regular updating, patching software, implementing intrusion detection and prevention system, fostering a culture of security awareness among employees, and ensure that an expert, a cybersecurity expert, is among them in the organization. Now, let us look at case study of notable cyber attack. In module 1, we looked at the evolution of cyber attack, Have there been any success since cyber attack started? Let's look at the cases, notable cases of cyber attack. Now, the number one we have on our list is Stuxnet, a computer worm discovered in 2010, believed to be developed by nation-state actors to target Iran's nuclear program, and this was successful. Now, the next one is Wakrasi ransomware, a global cyber attack in 2017 that encrypted data on hundreds of thousands of computers worldwide, demanding ransom payment in Bitcoin. The next one is Aquifer's data breach. In 2017, attackers exploited a vulnerability in the Aquifer's website, exposing the personal information of over 147 million people. Now, Sony picture attack. In 2014, a picture entertainment resulted in the leak of confidential data, including unreleased films and sensitive employee information. Target data breach. In 2013, hackers gained access to Target's network through a third-party vendor, compromising the credit card information of over 40 million customers. So if this attack have been targeted on big firms and they were successful, what about your firm that you don't have cybersecurity measure, you don't have measure put in place to protect your data, you don't have cybersecurity experts in your organization, and you don't have a cybersecurity company that is managing the protection of your data, how sure are you that you are not even under attack as we speak? So these measures have to put in place. Now, thank you very much. Congratulations. This is the end of the second module of Cybersecurity Essential. Next, we'll be moving into the third module. And in the third module, what are we expecting to see? We'll understand what actually cyber attack is. Common cyber attack methods like denial of service, man in the middle of attack, stages of cyber attack, vulnerability and exploit, common vulnerability in software and system, exploitation techniques, buffer overflow, SQL injection. Then lastly, we'll look at assessing and mitigating vulnerability. We've concluded module 2 of our training program. Before we go, let's look at what we have learned, what we have been able to understand on this module 2. We've understood the types of cyber attacks, cyber threats like malware, phishing, and social engineering, and we've been able to identify vulnerabilities in systems and software, and we have been able to understand exploit kit and zero-day attack. Yeah, definitely. Anytime you hear about zero-day attack, it will no longer be strange or new to you because we've really explained them. Now, we've also gone through the case study of notable cyber attack, especially those that have been successful. Thank you very much once again. Thank you for joining. Remember to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and also if you have any question to ask, you can come up with your question, drop your question on the comment section. We will do our best possible to look at all your questions one after the other. We'll write them down, we'll look at them, and in our next video we are going to we'll definitely have a video to address your comments and your questions. Okay, remember, your comments make us better. Your questions will also make us to bring out more points, more explanations, so that there will be more avenue to share knowledge. Thank you very much.